So what does the home purchase timeline look like? My name's Chad Leonberg, and I run the Leonberg home team. We sold over 1,000 homes in the last 10 years, and I want to break down, what this process kind of looks like to closing. So I'm going to take you through the lens of like what we set up as a task list whenever we get a contract. So first off, whenever you have an agreement of sale, you have earnest money, money that you put down that basically you would lose for any non-contingent reason. So if you backed out just because you changed your mind, not because maybe you made it contingent on the inspection or contingent on financing, right? You would get your money back if if it fell through within the right time frames for those reasons. But if not, that's what this earnest money is for. Now it comes off your closing, so it's generally around 1%. So if it's $500,000 house, around $5,000 is money that you would put up and get to the title company. It would sit there and come off your closing costs. It's credited to it unless you back out of the sale for a non-contingent reason. So first step is when you go under contracts, you want to get that to title and get your mortgage application in. If you have one, there's typically a time frame in the sales agreement that you got to get your mortgage application officially in. Yes, you've gotten a pre-approval, but you have to apply for the mortgage on that home within a certain time period. And then you want to do your due diligence, any inspections and home insurance, stuff like that. There should be a window, can be 7 to 10, maybe 15 days. It depends on your agreement and what your real estate agent has put in there. But there's going to be a time period to do your inspections and negotiate any repair requests. Now, here's the thing. In Florida, there's an as-is sales agreement that most of us use. All real estate is sold as is. There is still an inspection period. A buyer can, go through and do the inspections and say, hey, I'm cool, let's rock. Or they can say, you know what, I would like a credit for this, or I'd like these to be repaired, or I'm going to back out and I'm going to get my hand money back. So there is that due diligence period that you have baked in there if you've opted for that. And it's generally about a 7 to 10, maybe up to 15-day period that you have. So that's the first major hump you've got to get through. You've got to get through inspections. Once you've made it through inspections, the next kind of hump, there's two major ones that we're looking at. Inspections is one, and the next one is appraisal. So it would have to appraise if there's a loan. Now, this depends on a lot of factors, the type of loan. If the buyers put a significant chunk down, there might be a gap waiver where they don't have to fully appraise for the amount that they're purchasing at. There's a lot of variables here, but generally if there's financing involved, you got to make it through the appraisal hump. So as a real estate agent, I can tell you on our end, we're really just thinking about two things. Does it make it through inspections, and does it make it through appraisal? Of course, there's many other issues and the 100+ variables that there are in a real estate transaction that we've got to babysit, but those are the two major humps and the two most common areas that you're going to have a problem. So after you do get the appraisal back and it's good to go, realistically there, you just need to make sure you're clearing your conditions with any lender or anything like that. The title is getting cleared. And a lot of that's just kind of done in the background. There's a lot of back and forth emails, phone calls, and all the kind of stuff that, real estate agents or transaction coordinator on our team, title companies, lenders, everybody's putting that all together. Ultimately, if you do have a loan, though, there is another period you need to watch for, and that is a closing disclosure. So if your lender sends this out, I think it's over 7 days before, you can just view it. But if they send it out within a week of your closing date, you have to sign this at least 3 business days before closing. I'm pretty sure that Saturday counts as one, but Sunday does not. I never really understood that. Check with the lender to be sure. But anyway, so if you signed it Thursday, you would have Friday is day 1, Saturday is day 2, Sunday doesn't count. You can close on Monday. If you signed it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you can close on Thursday. So you do have to get that disclosure signed before you can close. One other major thing to consider is if you have the ability and the wiggle room not to schedule the world to fall down on the day you close. Now, sometimes this doesn't work. Buyers do have to move in and, they're straight from one house to the next. Maybe they're selling one or their apartment lease ends. I've seen a lot of scenarios, but you can never guarantee the closing is going to close on the closing date. There's a lot of variables there, from the things like the lending rules. There's even a space in the contract where if that closing disclosure isn't sent out in proper times and you do have a clear to close, that the closing will get automatically extended up to 7 days. So my biggest advice, whether you're a buyer or seller, is, have wiggle room with that closing date, because there's so much emotion that gets involved around that. And if you have a little bit of just going with the flow at the end, and having the cushion, right, for your movers and for those things, if you have a place to go in the meantime, it's going to make things a lot less stressful. If you're trying to make the whole world fall together on closing day, close on your house in the morning and the one that you're selling, and then purchase the next one at 4 o'clock, or like do it all in the same day and get movers and do all this stuff. It can get a little complicated. I'm not saying it doesn't work. We do it all the time, but getting it to line up perfectly tends to be a challenge. So just a word of advice. And I've lived this. I have personally went through this. Now, it wasn't new construction, but they weren't done in time. So they said they kept moving it, and we had to give notice to our apartment that we were in while we were building. And long story short, we had a date that was almost 2 months out that should have been no problem to make it, and we ended up having a week gap, and we went to a hotel for a week. We kept our stuff in a U-Haul, and we went to a hotel. One other pro tip I can recommend, there's a lot of great movers out there and a lot of great moving companies. Definitely go check out everything you have. But for us, one of the best ways we've found to move, or at least the most cost effective, is to just go direct to U-Haul and get a truck that will fit your size if you're moving locally, and hire movers off of their website. You can pay hourly. So what we did was we got 3 helpers to pack the stuff up, 2 helpers to unload it. We got them for 2 or 3 hours on each side of it. It was like $30 per person per hour, depending on which company you selected, and that was at the time. But it ended up being ultimately pretty cheap because it's really just the rental of the U-Haul and the help from the people. So, but there are a lot of great movers out there that can make this process a lot. You don't have to book that out and worry if the movers are actually coming that day sometimes because you brokered it through U-Haul and there's all that chaos. But it's one pro tip if you want to go on the cost saving side. It's one way that we have done it and our clients have done it in the past that have made that more cost effective. So at the end, you'll end up at the closing table with the title company, signing docs. If you are a seller, there's a lot of ways that they can go to a notary out of state and have your agent sign for you at closing, or just take care of a lot of things with a mobile notary. There's a lot of ways that you don't have to be at closing if you are leaving. And if you're a buyer, it's time to go to closing and get your keys and sign on the dotted line and own that new home. So I just wanted to give a general overview of the process. Having closed 1,000 homes in the last 10 years, we've definitely seen a lot of crazy stuff. And if you ever have any questions on any specifics, or if you're dealing with a situation, I'm always happy to lend a piece of advice from what's gone through what I've been privileged to see throughout the years in these closings. We definitely have to navigate some interesting scenarios because in real estate, it's always something. But anyways, thanks for tuning in this video. I hope that shed some light on the closing process. Once again, the 2 biggest humps you want to watch for are the inspection period and the appraisal period. Those are the 2 biggest things you got to watch as a real estate agent, as a buyer, as a seller. That's the biggest thing you got to get through to get to the finish line. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you around.